I think one of the coolest things a manga author can do is end their serialization on their own terms, which is what Yoshihiro Togashi did with YuYu Hakusho. Today we're going to be talking about Togashi's humble beginnings, and how his wish to live a happy life led to him standing up to Jump's editors. Togashi was born on April 27, 1966, in a small city named Shinjo, located in Yamagata Prefecture. His parents ran a stationery shop called Togashi Paper Store, that is still running to this day. Like many kids in the 60s, he enjoyed reading manga, and not just shonen manga, but also shoujo manga. Some of these stories included Mineo Maya's works, as well as Urusei Yatsura by Rumiko Takahashi. Reading manga would eventually inspire him to begin drawing his own short-form comics in elementary. He drew at home and in school, surrounded by other kids his age, who he felt were better than him. He loved drawing, and he also loved the atmosphere of school, so much that he decided that he wanted to become an art teacher. And just like that, he enrolled into the Faculty of Education Department of Fine Arts at Yamagata University. Beyond just drawing with a pen and paper, he also learned how to use other mediums, such as oil painting. As soon as his classes were over, he went to his apartment and continued drawing manga, just something to do at home. But as school life went on, he learned how difficult it was to be a teacher, and the kinds of responsibilities you had as a mentor to students. And in the middle of his studies, he was faced with a decision to continue his education or drop out. While he struggled with this decision, he began submitting work to Shueisha's weekly Young Jump. And it's here late into his college life, where he learned he was pretty good at drawing manga, as he began winning awards and getting honorable mentions from Jump's competitions. The work he submitted explored all kinds of stories: romantic comedies, horror/gag, sports, and what's cool about them is how he mixed up various styles made up of the works that influenced him, like H.R. Giger's creature designs, mixed with the design elements of shoujo manga, and this mascotty looking werewolf that you'd often find in gag manga. Looking at these stories, it's clear to me that he really wanted to write a romantic comedy, and after 3 years of submitting these short stories to Jump, Togashi thought it was time to get serious about being a mangaka and moved to Tokyo in 1989, leaving behind his career as an art teacher. And almost immediately after moving to Tokyo, he began his first serialization, titled Ten de Showaru Cupid. To no one's surprise, it was a romantic comedy, and it lasted for only 32 chapters. Togashi struggled writing this series because he not only had to write and draw the manga, he also had to make sure he stayed in good rankings with the Reader Survey, which is basically a questionnaire where readers can rank their favorite works in an issue of Weekly Shonen Jump. Those who ranked low would get their series canned. Togashi considers this work a failure, and he learned that he wasn't suited to writing romantic comedies, despite submitting so many of these types of stories before coming to Tokyo. During the serialization, however, he utilized the author's comment space in the magazine to communicate with readers in search of an assistant, who would eventually join him mid-serialization. As Tenden Showaru Cupid was coming to an end, Togashi was cooking up his next series, filled with the occult and supernatural. He named it YuYu Hakusho, the story of Yusuke Urameshi, a teenage delinquent who is struck and killed by a car while attempting to save a child's life. He's given another chance at life, but first he has to pass Koenma's trials. The beginning of the series felt like another romantic comedy series, but with more hints of the occult and supernatural. And unlike with his previous serialization, he was better prepared this time, with an assistant and a manuscript that planned out some key story points. And unfortunately, it did not do so well in the reader surveys, until he turned it into a battle manga, where it would steadily climb the ranks of the reader survey, until it floated within the top 10 spots. But despite it being popular with the readers, it didn't have that star power other Jump titles had. But one superfan managed to change all this, and I'll get to that in just a second. So, since Jump manga was super popular in Japan and anime was booming, animation studios wanted to get their hands on popular Jump IPs in order to make an anime and make money. Toei got their hands on a lot of Jump's biggest properties: Dragon Ball, Saint Seiya, Fist of the North Star. They pretty much dominated the anime world with these big titles. But a struggling studio, Studio Pieto, decided to pick up YuYu Hakusho. Few problems though. The series was almost dropped before production because it was hard to secure any sponsors for a series made by an author who had no popular titles in their portfolio. Yeah, he won the Tezuka Award a few years prior, but that didn't translate to fame. Making the series would be a huge gamble, and it would have been safer to do another title. But the company's secretary, Mari Kitayama, a superfan who made fan comics of YuYu Hakusho on the side, pushed for the series to become an anime. And when the anime released, I hope they gave Mari Kitayama a raise, because YuYu Hakusho became an instant hit, so much that it helped Studio Pierrot start actually making money to get out of their financial problems. And anime viewers would eventually translate into manga readers, making YuYu Hakusho one of Jump's biggest titles. And thanks to that, Togashi began working even harder on Yu Yu Hakusho to meet readers' expectations, but things would take a turn for the worse as the series progressed. Togashi developed a chronic back pain that would force him to draw lying down, and sleep deprivation would finally catch up to him. By the Dark Tournament arc, Togashi only had half a day off which he used to catch up on sleep. He had no time for anything else. If he continued this lifestyle, there was a high chance his body could have shut down. Karoshi, or death from overwork, is a major problem in Japan, where people die from literally overworking, and Togashi's editors really didn't care. One time when Togashi was working on a chapter, his editors asked him to create a 31-page bonus chapter in addition to the chapter he was working on. This infuriated Togashi so much, he angrily drew the chapter without the help of his assistants. It was 2 shots, by the way. Really good story. Anyway, Togashi didn't want to die from overworking. He decided that if he were going to die, he'd die from having fun, or having fun drawing a manga. He began to experience heart pain in addition to his back pain, and as the series continued, you could see how his health affected the chapters he put out. A lot of things didn't look refined. His characters and backgrounds became less detailed over time, and readers pointed this out to Togashi when they read these chapters. But despite his health and his artwork becoming less refined, he insisted on drawing the majority of the manga himself. When asked why he didn't just let his assistants take care of the character line art, he said, "If I do that, then my life as a manga artist is over." He managed to do everything he wanted to do with Yu Yu Hakusho. He didn't want to rehash any storylines or do any more tournaments just to stay serialized. He did want to deconstruct the characters, but his editors said no. And so he decided to do something that he promised he'd always do if he ever got serialized: to end the manga on his own terms. The manga's last arc did conclude rather abruptly, to the disappointment of many readers, but I do like what he did with the final chapters of Yu Yu Hakusho. He wrote chapters that allowed us to breathe and wind down with the characters until the very last issue, stories outside of the control of Jump's editors. And it's in these final chapters where you can feel Togashi reclaim his life again. He brought back the romantic comedy, the gags, the supernatural, and the occult. And just for a fleeting moment, it wasn't a battle manga made to please readers. It was a story Yoshihiro Togashi wanted to tell. Oh, and yes, I will be talking about Sailor Moon creator Naoko Takeuchi and Togashi, as well as Hunter x Hunter in another video.